I've never had a conversation with my dad about dating, and I don't think many other young guys have either. And that means we have to figure out a lot of this on our own. So here are the 3 lessons that I wish my dad had taught me and what I want to pass on to my son. Number 1, rejection is good. It took me a long time to learn this, but I think this is my favourite lesson, that figuring out that going through that pain is way better than having to reflect on it for days, months, maybe even years at not taking that shot. Because the thing is, if you're not being rejected, you're not doing your job properly. You're not putting yourself out there. You're not really taking any risks. If I reflect back onto my childhood, I was friend zoned by so many girls that I just hung around with them for ages, even though I know I probably liked them. And I never took that shot. And I was miserable for it. So if I could send him any message, it'd just be that, to actually take the shot, because the feeling of regret, it can last forever, but a rejection is something that you can build off of. And it actually gets to the point where I enjoy it. I enjoy the thrill of it. I enjoy going in and not knowing what's going to happen, but at least knowing I won't have to reflect back. If only I'd gone spoken to that girl at the gym. If only I'd gone over to that cashier. If only I'd done this. Those if onlys will be an open loop in your life forever. And if you just keep building them up, that is a recipe for an unhealthy psyche. So the number 1 lesson that I want to teach my son is to put himself out there and understand that rejection, it is a good thing. Number 2, and that is spending big on a first date just shows that you're insecure and needy. I learned this one really fast because on my first date, I ended up taking this girl to a cinema. I ended up buying this fucking massive long rose, which is still super embarrassing. It was like 1 meter long. Realistically, what was I thinking? First date and everything. And I was just trying to go all out, and I was essentially trying to buy her affection because I didn't feel that good about myself. And this was a hard lesson to learn, but one that I'm really glad I learned early. That the whole point of a first date is seeing if you two can connect, see if you have that kind of charisma and connection between you. Chemistry, that's the word I'm after. To see if you can develop that. And what guys do is avoid that entirely and just wonder if they can buy the affection of this girl by taking her to the fancy meal, by bringing gifts. All it is trying to cover up who you really are with all these sort of bells and whistles. A secure man knows he's enough to win the girl's affection, that if she doesn't like him, that's fine, but he's going to turn up as he is. He's not going to try and hide behind all these layers of like fancy tinsel and wrapping paper. If you turn up and you just are who you are, the date is more likely to go well anyway, but you also just don't come across as needy and insecure. Number 3, if everyone likes you, you're doing something wrong. This is a lesson that I think also took me a while to learn because I had such people pleaser tendencies that if everyone likes you, that probably means you're compromising a hell of a lot of who you are to have those interactions, because you're super unique. You have your own interests, you have your own opinions, and that should usually end up with causing this, what is called a polarization. And this is where you end up having a bunch of people that aren't that interested in you, and then a bunch of people that really, really like you. And you just have this split. When you approach the world like, oh, I just want everyone to like me, I don't really want to offend anyone, I don't want to have any opinions, all that does is mean that very few people ever really like you and like you for who you are and like you enough that they want to engage in like a real long-term relationship. You're just kind of bland, you're kind of vanilla, you've got no edge. And that one took me the longest of these 3 to learn, because it's really difficult to be that person if you're used to kind of compromising yourself for the group, to start to realize that in order to get the relationships you want and the life that you want, you need to put a bit more of yourself out into the world. And a quick indicator that you're compromising too much of who you are is that if everyone always likes you, that no matter what, everyone does. No one's got a bad word to say. It's just like, especially as a guy, that's a really inadequate move. So to round this off, 63% of young men are now single. They're not getting the experience they need, and I think part of this is because we've lost that kind of generational wisdom to be able to pass down and to instill our sons with values and what they're looking for in relationships. So these are the 3 lessons that I want to give my son in the future for how he can be more successful at dating.